Gentlemen, let's move on to our final conversation for today. After more than 6 decades of nationhood, unity continues to elude Nigeria, despite adoption of several strategies. The former head of state, retired General Yakubu Gowon, said his support for state creation was to ease the fear of the northern region's dominance, given its size and population. Speaking during a coastal visit by members of the League of Northern Democrats in Abuja, General Gowon, who governed Nigeria during a tumultuous period that included a civil war, emphasized that the decision of his administration to create more states was rooted in the need to preserve national unity and allay fears of domination by the northern region. He added that he pleaded with the late General Sani Abacha not to kill former President Olusegun Obasanjo for an alleged coup plot in 1995. Let's share the story by TVC News' Habida Lawal with you.
Nigeria is a diverse country with over 250 ethnic groups and cultural identities. The potential for domination by one region or ethnic group has historically been a cause for concern. The meeting here by the League of Northern Democrats with a former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, is a reflection of the affairs of the country and to emphasize the need to stay united.
We seek to reposition the North as a version of political, economic, and cultural influence. A North that reclaims its historical role as a beacon of leadership in Nigeria.
In his response, General Yakubu Gowon said, "No state or region should be a threat to the unity of the country. And this is one sacrifice the North has to make for Nigeria to be united, especially with the fear of being dominated politically by one group."
Whatever the North does, they must always do it in the overall interest of Nigeria. And from your speech, I see that this is what you are trying to do. Trying to ensure that the North, in whatever stage they are, at the moment we had to, I had to sort of make sure that Nigeria, the regions were, were created into a number of states, so that no particular region is or state would be too big, or to be a threat to the unity, of the country.
The League of Northern Democrats declared its intention to continue to dialogue and foster a cohesive national identity and address regional grievances. In a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society like Nigeria, addressing the threat of regional dominance requires collaboration and adequate sharing of resources. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, gentlemen, according to that report, the fear of disintegration was one of the reasons General Gowon created more states. BQ, has it really served its purpose?
I think the old man was right, because, we had just come out of a civil war, and if you think of a second civil war, was inconceivable, because no country will survive 2 civil wars. You must have felt that, look, the way Nigeria was structured at that time, that there was a need to do something. And I think the decision he took at that time was the right thing. The significant thing to say here is that so far, in the Nigerian journey, is the military who have found a way to create states. We had 12 states during the Gowon years. Muritala, within 6 months of being in office, we found a way to create more states. We then had 19 states. From 19 Today, we have 36 states because other military regimes that came also created states. Our friends always give our friends in in some of the states of the South always give Abacha credit because Abacha created a state for them. So, Ekiti State, for example, was Abacha created Ekiti State. The Western State used to be so big. And we have out of Western State, Ogun State, Oyo State, So it has helped us to bring governance closer and closer to our people. So I think Gowon was right to create those states at the time. When we look at the Nigerian journey, you see clearly that creation of states have not actually solved the problem of disunity. We need to be prepared to share power between the federating units. There was a suggestion that was made in 2006 that I thought should have been considered. That is rotating power between the 3 senatorial zones in every state. You look at the senatorial zones in every state, one is bound to be a minority senatorial zone. But if you allow power to be rotated between the 3 senatorial zones in every state, it means that even the senatorial zone that constitutes minority will be able to produce the governor of a state. You look at Benue, for example. Out of the 3 senatorial zones, the Igedes, the Domas, they fall into one of those senatorial zones. I think it's they call it politically they call it Zone C. That is where David Mark comes from. So it's a minority senatorial zone in the state because the chiefs control the majority, and the chiefs control 2 senatorial zones. So if you allow that to happen, for example, even they as minority, you'll be able to produce the governor of a state. It was an idea that came in 2006, but because of the fear that Obasanjo was desperate to perpetuate himself in power, a claim that, an allegation that has been trying to deny, but he knows in his heart that he wanted third term. For some of the closest to him have now opened their mouths to tell us that indeed Baba wanted third term. The baby was thrown out with the bathwater. We had ideas contained in that document that they could have looked at, but they didn't because they felt Obasanjo wanted third term. So let's not even look at the propositions. It's unfair that is what happened, but they were just scared of the man that he will use the opportunity. So I think Gowon was right. We cannot continue to create states. At some point, we'll stop. I know that even the National Assembly now, some states, it's been suggested that they should create some states. It can, America, as big as it is, America is the size of West Africa. But it has only 50 states. So what is Nigeria? We have 36 states, but we're still asking for more. The demand will not stop. People will keep asking. Even if we like today, let's create 30 more states to join these ones. Some people will still come up in future to say, look, we are marginalized, give us our own state. As we speak now, the people that I'm talking about, they are not happy. They believe that they need to give them upper state, for example.
capacity.
Yes. So Gowon, General Gowon is a man that I like. I like his simplicity. I want to see General Gowon before he joins his ancestors. He needs to write a book.
Okay.
He presided over our country in a very difficult and testy time. We went through civil war during Gowon's time. How did all of those things happen? Because when you read our the civil war accounts, you will not know which one to believe.
Okay. It's not detailed.
I say, no, people lace their accounts with half-truths and deliberate falsehood. For anybody who has read, you see, you have to look at who is writing. Everyone is writing in a manner to please him and his own people. But Gowon, as the president, as the head of state at that time, he needs to write a book. Let's even hear his account. What transpired? How did he preside over those meetings at that time? He has to write a book. He's an intellectual. He went to school after he left as Nigeria's head of state. So there's no reason for General Gowon to not give us a book. He's probably watching me now. So it's a demand that I'm making. My father, I'm making this demand to you. Let's do a book. Do a book that will let us even know a lot more about what happened during that era, rather than rely on people who have been lying to us.
All right, Adeoye.
Well, I agree with Babajide. It's either a biography or autobiography. So the challenge also for we journalists, we may, if we want to have an extensive interview with him, and maybe from that kind of interview, and asking very difficult questions, on the history of Nigeria. I think I agree with him that the creation of state in 1967, when 12 states were created from the 3 regions, was based on the fears of northern minorities, and also to stabilize the country. But that was not the only reason, just like he said, also to stabilize the country, because Rivers State, for instance, was also created in 1967, Kwara State, Lagos State, Plateau, Benue Plateau, where he comes from, North Central States. Because prior 1967, there have been a lot of agitations. When the British people were living in 1960, they conducted what they call the Willis Commission that went around the whole country in 1959. I have the original copy of that report. Very interesting. Minorities were complaining that, look, this is what we are not happy to be in the northern Nigeria. In northern Nigeria, about 100 ethnic groups. It's only southwest and southeast that was a little bit. Even southeast, you had other minorities who did not feel comfortable being in the south. So there were a lot of agitations. And I think creating Rivers State took the oil-rich region from the southwest at the start of that civil war. So it was tactical, to create Rivers State at that time, by the calculation of the federal government. And if you also read the book of Awolowo, Tactics and Strategy of People's Republic, he was advocating for creation of states based on ethnic affinity. Okay. You look at India. India has some states like Sikkim is just 0.6 million, whereas Pradesh is 199 million people. But states in Nigeria were actually created based on landmass, no consultation with people. I met a member of the Boundary Adjustment Commission, in fact, Chief Akingide, and he said, where are you from? I mentioned I said, we nearly merged you with Kogi State. Wow. No consultation in their bedroom, in their hotel rooms. So the states were created without engagement of people to let people have their views. Without cultural affinity, just find them together. And that's why you see a lot of conflict all over the country. Yes. Little bit, in the southeast, in south. Look at the job people. You find them in Ondo State, you find them in Rivers State, you find them in Bayelsa. Why can't you give them just one state? Look at Benue. You have TV people have been in power now since 1999, I think. Idoma people hardly may not become governor. Look at the Okun people in Kogi State. I don't think they can ever produce governor unless by luck. So there are a lot of contradictions, boundary of contradictions based on the creation of these states.
Kogi should have been in the same state with Ekiti, for example.
Yes,
that is Okun land.
Yes, even Okun land can have
a lot of
things in common.
Our language, these are similar. So, in his own place now, they call a goat a deregbe. In our place, they call it a degbe.
Yeah.
So it's just the R that
is missing. In my village, it's a degbe. In my own village, it's purely Kogi. You know, in that, yes, it's not even, in fact, if I'm speaking, you think you're a Kitty person, you not even hear me. So no consultation, no discussion.
So it will have been part of a single state.
All right, gentlemen.
State, you know,
General Gowon also said, I encourage others to think beyond regional interest and focus on Nigeria as a whole. What can today's politicians learn from this?
Oh, and he said Nigeria is his political party. I think he has carried himself very well.
Yeah.
As an old man. There are some old men who trash themselves on the floor. You know, they think they know it, or they want to always give opinion. They are bloody hypocrites. We know them. If we start their own matter today, you know, we won't leave. This program will continue for 2 hours. But they are the ones who always speak like they know everything. No. Gowon has carried himself, General Gowon has carried himself like a true elder.
Yeah.
With dignity, with integrity. And that's the way it should be. And you cannot deny that he's a lover of his country. You do not hear them mention his name where they are talking about divisive issues. No.
Or corruption.
Or corruption. No.
For many years.
He's just a man of remarkable contentment. His sense of contentment is very remarkable, and he's someone that I respect so much. He carries himself with total dignity, and the politicians can learn a lot from this kind of person. Some politicians will respect them. After a while, you heard that he did this, you heard that he said this, and then you lose your respect. People have not lost their respect for this man. He is a true father. And I don't know why he has chosen not to write that book. I don't know. Maybe he'll be able to tell us. But if we are, like he said, if we can afford us maybe 2 whole hours.
Because he needs to tell us how he saved.
Ask questions.
You know, he said he saved the late. He saved Obasanjo from
yes. Yes.
That is true.
He knew that he did not do any coup. And don't forget, the Vatsa coup didn't exist. They just framed people and took their lives. I remember the interview that Don Kabali granted to me. He said it. And Don Kabali was the most senior military officer at the time. He said, when we look at the evidence, there was really no evidence. And this was the person who announced the execution of those officers. But years later, and I'm happy that he did it before he died, I caught up with him on the golf course in Ikoyi, and he gave that interview where he said, look, there was really no evidence. So Gowon sensed that Abacha was trying to kill Obasanjo. Obasanjo was framed. He knew nothing about the coup. Nothing, and there was even no coup. That 1995, there was no coup. It was fake. I did a story showing that there was no coup, and that was why they wanted to kill me at that time. There was no coup. So he knew, so he had to say, look, do your best. And I'm happy, in the end, they didn't have to kill anyone. The death sentences that should have come were commuted to like 20-something years, different. Even my own boss, Kunle Ajibade now, you know, he was jailed. If you were my friend, maybe you were my girlfriend, and you are, and I was in the army, they will come for you, arrest you, lock you up. Some of them, they will put them on trial. Madness. How do you arrested a soldier, then the girlfriend too, you go and get the girlfriend, you said the girlfriend too plan coup, and you wanted to kill all of them. It takes mad people to behave like that. And Abacha actually had a government of thoroughly mad people who were working with him, who were taking people's lives. Where's Bagauda Kalto today? They wasted him. And there are others like that. Some, they just put them in detention. They came out of detention. Some of them died because of extreme torture that they went through. Colonel Ajayi, for example.
Gabriel Ajayi.
The torture was too much. You imagine hanging somebody's leg to the fan, and then you switch on the fan.
He was kept in the cemetery for years.
Wicked people. So Gowon knew that Obasanjo would be killed because he knew. Obasanjo was looking at when they said they were giving evidence. Obasanjo was looking at because they were programmed to lie against him. But as fate will have it, he was in Yola prisons. Obasanjo should really be grateful to God. I've not seen any Nigerian that God loved like Obasanjo, in spite of his failings. Because he was in prison. And then from prison, Abdul Salami and IBB, they came and said, okay, we are going to make you president. And they bathed him. They always say that we washed him up, we gave him new clothes, and he became president. I thank Gowon for the role that he played. Maybe Obasanjo will have been wasted. Of course. Because he was targeted, especially for his mouth. There is nobody that comes into power that Obasanjo will not run down.
All right, gentlemen.
He will run you down, he will grant interviews.
He has to go home.
So he knew that if he can take him out of the way, he will be able to do his government.
All right, we have to go, but I think the basis of this conversation is to remind us all that the sacrifices made under General Gowon's leadership to preserve Nigeria's unity must never be in vain. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, General Gowon.
Thank you. Thank you, General Gowon. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. That's all on Journalists Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.